extension this summer. He said to the media, I don't know, do I deserve one? You guys should ask Robert Kraft. Keep in mind, when the Patriots refused to give Brady the extension he wanted this summer, the previous 3 years, they had won the Super Bowl in the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history against the Falcons. He had won league MVP the following year and then thrown for 500 yards in a Super Bowl loss to Philadelphia. And then they won another Super Bowl the year before, and they still said, not giving you an extension. And now you see this year, his frustration with his weapons, his frustration with the offense from before the year even began, if you read the quotes in the article, in the Tom Curran piece. Tom Curran, by the way, who's plugged into the team and wrote a book with Brady's best friend, Julian Edelman, and presents this as this is what is going to happen, barring a seismic shift, not what could happen. And it's not presented as Brady retiring, but as Brady going to play somewhere else. If I'm right that this season is not going to end for the 4th straight year with the Patriots at the very least in the Super Bowl, that it's going to end with a playoff loss before they get to the Super Bowl, if that happens, I do believe that at least on Tom Brady's end, he's going to say, you know what? Grass might be greener over in Los Angeles, where I own a home, where they have all these weapons, where if I'm going to try to be able to convince my wife that I'm going to keep playing and it's not going to be for the Patriots, the city that we already have we're set up in is LA with the Chargers. I do think that if the Patriots fail to make the Super Bowl, Tom Brady's done in New England, not necessarily because the Patriots are going to say, get the hell out of here, because Brady might say, I'm going to try this somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't think this is last year in New England for a lot of different reasons. The biggest reason is because they don't have a viable backup at this point. But we've also seen Tom Brady this year not be able to be the same guy that he was in the past without that security blanket, that mismatch in Robert Gronkowski. And so that means they had to put more pieces around him. We saw how upset he was without Antonio Brown and with releasing him. We also have seen that offense not be itself without that mismatch. And so I can kind of see why he would want to move on and things like that. But I think this offseason, the Patriots go out and say, listen, we need weapons around Tom Brady if we want him still here as our quarterback, and they go find those weapons. But here's an interesting thing. There's a couple free agents that I think would be pretty cool to see in New England. Cam Newton and maybe Teddy Bridgewater. What if one of those guys went up there with that defense and were able to play up there? I think that would be interesting if the Patriots moved on from Tom Brady.
Well, I'm not sure Teddy Bridgewater is interested in leaving New Orleans after going 5-1 as the starter with them filling in for Drew Brees. And then I don't know that Cam Newton is going to be available at the start of the 2020 season because he's having surgery for that Liz Frank injury. So I see where you're coming from, but I don't know if those will be realistic options for the Patriots. But I'm still on that same corner with you because they don't have any alternative at the quarterback position behind Tom Brady. I'm leaning toward Tom Brady being a New England Patriot in 2020 and them somehow working out a contract, just because I think it makes too much sense for both sides. If you talk about Tom Brady not being surrounded by the weapons that he would want, not getting the contract extension that he wanted this offseason, I get it, and I understand how that can be a point of contention. But I don't know if I have a lot of confidence that the Chargers are going to make sure that they do everything around me in order to take advantage of the twilight of my career. So I think you got a lot more built-up equity with the Patriots in terms of the relationship with Tom Brady than you do with the Chargers. Now, as far as Robert Kraft's comments go back in 2013, we got to also keep in mind the context of all of that. Tom Brady hadn't won a Super Bowl
in almost a decade.
Wow. You know what I'm saying? So he rattled off 3 Super Bowl championships since those comments, and you're recognizing what this team is. You actually saw him win an MVP in his latter years. So I think that there's a lot more trust from the organization that we're going to see a better version of Tom Brady when we get him better weapons.
Don't forget, Tom Brady grew up out west. He was a Joe Montana fan. He watched what the Niners did with Joe Montana. But quickly, you think this is all predicated on whether or not the Patriots get to the Super Bowl?
Well, I think if they
You don't think Kraft's going to give him one more year knowing who they have as a backup, just incentively?
Well, again, I don't think it's just about what the Patriots want here. I think because there's a reason Tom Brady said, I want the clause that you can't franchise tag me, even though the franchise tag for quarterbacks would be a huge raise for him. It's because if you're Brady, people think I'm a Brady critic. I'm a critic of how he's played this year. I am an enormous fan of how he's conducted himself. And if I were Tom, and you got to imagine Tom, even though he hides it well, has that nice, healthy ego because he deserves it. How many signs of disrespect can you abide before you say, okay, good luck without me? where I did all of this. I did it all way undervalue. One of the reasons we've had this success is because I've set my ego aside to help the team. Yep. The one thing I've asked for is to be able to go out on my own terms, and I do want to play for only one organization. So after 3 straight Super Bowl appearances, mixed in with the greatest comeback ever, a league MVP, and the one that we lost, I threw for 500 yards, I would like a contract extension. If you're not going to give it to me till age 45, at least give it to me till age 43. And the answer is no. And then you say, okay, I'll deal with it. And then you bring in Antonio Brown, and I love playing with Antonio Brown. And then you say, we're going to have to cut him. And I say, please don't. We need Antonio Brown. And they say, no, we're going to have to cut him. And you don't give Gronk enough reason to come back. If I'm Brady, I might say, you know what? You guys have told me you don't love me the way I love you. And I wouldn't blame him. Personally, it would be tough to blame Tom Brady for that.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. But the one thing I will say to push back on, I don't think the clause in the contract for Tom Brady is about him wanting to go somewhere else. I think it's all about the threat of potentially going somewhere else and creating leverage to make sure that you get a fair market deal in your eyes rather than being franchise tag or allowing the Patriots to hold the franchise tag over you to suppress your salary. At the latter stages of his career, I think that's really ultimately what it's about. It's a value proposition. My wife Giselle already wants me to walk away from football unless you make
you also have a wife named Giselle?
No, that's what I'm just saying. Tom Brady, his wife is saying he wants to walk away.
Okay.
Wow. Well,
okay.
Anyway, no, but his wife wants him to walk away from football already. So if the Patriots don't make it worth his while, I could understand him wanting to do that. But that's what I think that clause in that contract is all about.
If you're the Patriots, there's no better time to have a younger quarterback than when you have a great defense. They have a great defense right now. This may be the time to do it.
I thought that conversation just derailed real fast. No. Take a break. Coming up.
Oh, Jenna.
Ryan Westbrook, stick around. We're going to talk about why the Cowboys do have a slight chance tonight against the Bears. Next on First Things First.
Bears by less than a touchdown. The Bears by 6 or less is my pick. Oh, fancy new graphics.
There you go. I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys by 6 or less. I mean, I look at the 2 quarterbacks in this game, and I trust Mitch Trubisky far less than I trust Dak Prescott. I think he'll make the mistakes. Dak won't. The Cowboys get back to basics, being able to run the football. I like the Cowboys.
I like the fact that they've got the Bears and Cowboys in like their official team fonts and colors.
Nice.
That's a nice little addition.
Only thing I don't like is that they haven't updated it. They still got me with the Santa Claus beard.
Listen,
I like it.
One small thing at a time.
Listen,
one small. You got to take baby steps here. Baby steps.
He looks good with a beard, man. There's nothing wrong.
Before the game kicks off tonight, download the Fox Sports Super 6 app. Play for free for a chance to win Terry Bradshaw's money. Time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Last night, the Lakers beat the Jazz 121-96 thanks to Anthony Davis and his team-high 26 points. LeBron also added 20 and 12. Nick, how impressive was this win for the Lakers?
There is no tougher back-to-back in the NBA than at Denver, at Utah. The elevation of Denver, the fans of Utah, the quality of both those teams. Going into this week, those 2 teams were combined, what was it, 16-3 at home, and the Lakers beat them both, leading the entirety of the final 3 quarters in both games, aside from a 19-second stretch. Dominant wins, and removing that little arrow from the quiver of people saying, what about the schedule when it comes to the Lakers' best record in the NBA?
Yeah, that was a nice win by the Lakers. You mentioned the second night of a back-to-back at Elevation in Denver on Tuesday night. Now, a lot of people will say the Jazz were shorthanded, no Mike Conley Jr. That was still a good win. The Lakers offensively started off a little slow, but they got it going defensively in that second quarter and thereon. I mean, in the second half, they led by as many as 25. The closest it ever got was 11 points. That was a dominant performance by the Los Angeles Lakers.
Did the Lakers add another 3-point specialist? Dwight Howard. little jab step back 3 in the corner and garbage.
Listen, they had Rondo looking like a 3-point specialist last night.
Rondo's been hitting.
I'm just telling you.
He's been hitting.